deep interest in you, connects with you, spends time with you, then suddenly pulls away. No messages, less effort, less attention. And you start asking yourself painful questions. Did I do something wrong? Did he lose interest? Why would someone pull away if they actually like me? But here's the truth. Most people never tell you. Sometimes a man doesn't pull away because he doesn't care. He pulls away because what he feels actually scares him. When emotions get real, when attraction turns into something deeper, many men step back not to leave you, but to process what they're feeling. And if you misunderstand this moment, you can accidentally push the connection away forever. So let's talk about the 3 real reasons men pull away when they like you. 1, he's processing his emotions. When a man begins to develop real feelings for someone, something unexpected often happens inside his mind. At first, everything feels easy. The conversations flow naturally. The attraction is exciting. He enjoys the attention, the laughter, the chemistry. But as the connection deepens and emotions begin to grow, something shifts internally. What once felt simple suddenly begins to feel serious, and seriousness brings questions. Not because he doesn't like you, but because now the connection means something to him. Many people believe that when someone pulls away, it automatically means their feelings are fading. But in many cases, the opposite is true. The moment feelings become real is often the exact moment when a man begins to pause and process what is happening inside him. This is not something he usually announces or explains. Most men are not raised in environments where they are encouraged to talk openly about emotions. Instead, they are taught to solve problems quietly, to figure things out internally, and to deal with emotional confusion alone. So when a powerful emotional connection starts forming, he may instinctively create space not to leave the relationship, but to understand his own feelings. Think about how sudden emotional intensity can feel for anyone. When you start caring deeply about someone, there is excitement, but there is also vulnerability. The more you like someone, the more you have to lose. That truth creates pressure in the mind. A man may begin asking himself questions he didn't have to ask before. Is he ready for something serious? Is he emotionally prepared to open his life to someone else? Can he handle the responsibility of a deeper connection? These questions do not appear because the attraction is weak. They appear because the attraction is becoming meaningful. When emotions are casual, people move freely without thinking too much about the future. But when emotions begin to matter, the brain naturally shifts into evaluation mode. A man may begin reflecting on his past experiences. Maybe he remembers a previous relationship that ended painfully. Maybe he recalls moments where he gave his heart too quickly and later regretted it. Those memories can create hesitation, even when the current connection feels special. Instead of rushing forward blindly, he steps back for a moment to make sense of what he is feeling. This internal processing is often invisible from the outside. From your perspective, everything seemed to be going well. The energy felt mutual. The interest was clear. Then suddenly the communication slows down or the emotional intensity changes. Without understanding what might be happening internally, it is easy to interpret this distance as rejection. But distance does not always mean disinterest. Sometimes it simply means someone is thinking more deeply about what the connection means. During this time, his mind may move through several layers of reflection. First, he tries to understand the strength of his feelings. Attraction alone is simple, but emotional attachment is more complex. He may ask himself whether the excitement he feels is temporary or something that could grow into something lasting. Then he may begin thinking about compatibility. Do your lives align? Do your values match? Could this connection realistically fit into the future he imagines for himself? These questions require time and mental space to answer honestly. Another important reason for this pause is emotional self-protection. When someone starts to matter, vulnerability increases. A man who feels himself becoming emotionally invested may instinctively slow things down because he wants to avoid rushing into something before he understands it fully. This pause is often his way of protecting both himself and the potential relationship from moving too fast. It is a moment where excitement meets caution, where attraction meets responsibility. One of the biggest mistakes people make during this phase is reacting with fear. When someone senses distance, the natural impulse is to chase the connection harder. They send more messages, seek more reassurance, and try to pull the other person closer again. But when someone is already in a reflective state, pressure can create the opposite effect. Instead of helping him understand his feelings, it adds emotional noise to the process. It can make him feel that he is being rushed toward a decision he has not yet fully processed. Confidence, on the other hand, changes the entire dynamic. Confidence does not mean ignoring your emotions or pretending you do not care. It means trusting your value enough to allow someone the space to understand their feelings without trying to control the outcome. When you respond with calmness instead of panic, you send a powerful signal. You show that your life is not dependent on constant validation from another person. That energy is incredibly attractive because it communicates emotional strength. When a man steps back and sees that the connection still feels meaningful even without constant interaction, it often reinforces his feelings rather than weakening them. Distance can create clarity. Without the distraction of constant communication, he begins to notice whether he misses you. He may find himself thinking about your conversations, remembering moments you shared, or wondering what you are doing. Those reflections help him understand whether the connection truly matters to him. Human emotions often become clearer in moments of absence. When someone is always present, the mind can take that presence for granted. But when space appears, the heart has an opportunity to evaluate what that person truly means. This is why many strong relationships actually grow stronger after moments of distance. The space allows both people to recognize the value of the connection instead of simply moving through it automatically. It is also important to remember that emotional processing is rarely quick. Deep feelings do not always move in straight lines. Sometimes they move forward, then pause, then move forward again. A man may feel excited one day and uncertain the next. That does not mean the connection is unstable. It simply means he is human and navigating emotions that may be unfamiliar to him. Growth often includes moments of hesitation, moments where the mind needs time to catch up with what the heart is beginning to feel. If you look at many long-lasting relationships, you will often find moments like this early in their story. Moments where one or both people stepped back to understand what was happening between them. Those pauses did not destroy the connection. Instead, they allowed it to develop more intentionally. When someone chooses to move forward after reflection, that decision is often stronger than one made purely in the excitement of the moment. Understanding this dynamic can transform the way you respond to emotional distance. Instead of interpreting every pause as rejection, you begin to see it as part of the natural rhythm of emotional development. Attraction sparks quickly, but meaningful connection develops more slowly. It requires moments of excitement and moments of reflection. Both are necessary for something real to grow. So when a man pulls away during a moment when feelings are developing, it may simply mean he is stepping into that reflective space. He is trying to understand what this connection means, what role it might play in his life, and whether he is ready to embrace it fully. That process is not a sign that the connection is weak. In many cases, it is a sign that the connection has become important enough to think about seriously. And when you allow that process to unfold without panic, without pressure, and without losing your own sense of confidence, you create an environment where the connection has room to breathe. Real attraction does not need constant force to survive. It grows strongest when two people are free to discover their feelings naturally. Sometimes the very space that feels uncomfortable in the moment becomes the moment that clarifies everything. Because when someone truly values the connection, reflection does not push them away forever. Reflection often leads them back with greater certainty, greater intention, and a deeper understanding of why the connection matters. Key point 2. He's afraid of losing his independence. When a man begins to develop feelings for someone, there is often a quiet internal conflict that begins to grow inside him. On one side, he feels the excitement of connection, the joy, spending time with someone who understands him, someone who brings new energy into his life. But on the other side, there can be a subtle fear that begins to appear, a fear that his independence might slowly disappear. This fear is not always logical, and it is not always something he consciously thinks about. But it can strongly influence how he behaves when a relationship starts becoming serious. For many men, independence is deeply connected to their identity. From a young age, they are often taught that strength means being self-reliant, solving problems alone, and building a life based on personal freedom and control over their time and decisions. Because of this, independence becomes more than just a lifestyle preference. It becomes a part of how they see themselves as individuals. Their routines, their ambitions, their hobbies, their friendships, and their personal goals all form a structure that gives them a sense of stability and identity. When a romantic connection begins to grow, it naturally starts to enter that structure. At first, this feels exciting. Spending time together feels effortless and enjoyable. But as the connection deepens, a man may begin to wonder how this relationship will affect the life he has built. He might start asking questions internally, even if he never says them out loud. Will he still have the same freedom he once had? Will his time be controlled by expectations? Will he have to give up parts of his lifestyle that are important to him? These thoughts do not mean he does not want love. In fact, many men deeply desire meaningful relationships and emotional connection. The issue is not love itself. The issue is the fear of losing themselves within that love. When someone believes that being in a relationship will require sacrificing their independence, they may feel a sense of loss or sacrifice. They may instinctively create distance as a way of protecting that independence. This reaction often has nothing to do with the specific person they are dating. It is more connected to past experiences, stories they have heard from others, or relationships they have observed around them. Many people have seen relationships where one partner becomes controlling, demanding, or overly dependent. When someone carries those observations in their mind, they may unconsciously associate commitment with restriction. As a result, when they feel a relationship becoming serious, they pause to evaluate whether their freedom will still exist within it. This pause can sometimes look like emotional withdrawal. Communication may slow down. He may spend more time focusing on his personal interests or responsibilities. From the outside, it may seem like he is losing interest, but internally, he may simply be trying to understand whether this relationship fits into his life in a healthy way. What many people misunderstand is that attraction often grows strongest when both individuals maintain their sense of individuality. When someone feels that they can remain themselves. While being in a relationship, commitment feels safe. But when they feel that they will have to give up their identity, their routines, or their personal space, commitment can begin to feel threatening. This is why pressure can sometimes push someone further away during this stage. If a man begins to feel that expectations are forming too quickly, expectancies about constant communication, constant availability, or rapid emotional intensity, he may feel that his personal freedom is shrinking before he has fully chosen the relationship. When someone feels their independence slipping away before they are ready, their natural reaction is often to step back and regain a sense of control. It is important to understand that independence and intimacy are not opposites. A healthy relationship actually supports both. But for someone who fears losing their independence, they need to see that balance in action before they fully trust it. They need to experience that being close to someone does, not mean losing themselves. This is where confidence becomes incredibly powerful. When someone has their own life, their own passions, their own goals, and their own happiness that does not depend entirely on the relationship, it sends a clear message. It shows that the relationship is a choice, not a dependency. That energy changes how the connection feels. Instead of feeling like something that will consume his life, the relationship begins to feel like something that can exist alongside his. Independence. When a man sees that the person he is connecting with also values her own life, he feels a sense of connection and understanding, her own ambitions and her own sense of self. It removes the fear that the relationship will become suffocating. He begins to realize that this connection is not about control or restriction. It is about sharing life while still maintaining individuality. This realization often takes time. Trust is not built instantly, especially when someone carries fears about losing their independence. They need to observe the dynamic of the relationship over time. They need to see that they can pursue their goals, spend time with their friends, focus on their passions, and still maintain a meaningful connection with someone who respects that balance. Ironically, the more someone tries to hold on to another person too tightly, the more it can create the exact distance they fear. But when someone allows space naturally, without resentment or insecurity, the relationship begins to feel lighter and more inviting. Instead of feeling like a responsibility he must carry, the connection feels like a place he wants to return to. Attraction is deeply connected to freedom. People are drawn to relationships that feel like an expansion of their lives rather than a limitation of them. When someone feels that a relationship adds joy, support, and understanding without removing their individuality, they are said to be in a state of emotional well-being. Commitment becomes something they embrace willingly rather than something they avoid. Another important factor is that many men want to feel that choosing a relationship is their own decision. When commitment feels forced or rushed, it can create resistance, even if the connection is strong. But when someone feels that they are moving forward because they genuinely want to, that choice becomes meaningful. The relationship then becomes something they protect and invest in, not something they feel obligated to maintain. Over time, as a man sees that his independence remains intact and that the relationship supports his personal growth rather than restricting it, the fear that once caused distance often fades away. The space he initially created to protect himself begins to feel unnecessary. Instead of stepping back, he begins stepping forward with more confidence. This is why patience and self-confidence are so important during this stage of a relationship. When someone reacts to distance with panic or pressure, it reinforces the fear that the relationship will become overwhelming. But when someone responds with calmness and maintains their own fulfilling life, they are able to maintain their own sense of purpose and fulfillment. It demonstrates that the connection is built on mutual choice rather than dependency. In the end, the strongest relationships are not the ones where two people lose themselves in each other. They are the ones where two individuals maintain their independence while choosing to walk through life together. That balance creates respect, attraction, and emotional safety. When a man realizes that being close to someone is a source of comfort and joy, it does not mean losing his freedom, but instead means gaining a partner who respects and supports his individuality. His perspective often shifts completely. What once felt like a potential threat to his independence begins to feel like a powerful addition to his life. And when that realization happens, the distance that once existed often transforms into something very different. Instead of pulling away to protect his independence, he begins moving closer because he understands that this connection does not take his freedom away. It allows him to share his life with someone who values him exactly as he is. Key point: he wants to be sure about his feelings. When a man begins to feel a genuine connection with someone, he does not always rush forward immediately. Sometimes the deeper the feelings become, the more thoughtful and cautious he becomes about what those feelings actually mean. Attraction can happen quickly, but deciding whether a connection has the potential to become something lasting is a very different process. That process often requires time, reflection, and emotional clarity. For many men, stepping back for a moment is not about losing interest. It is about making sure that what they are feeling is real and not just a temporary rush of excitement. At the beginning of any connection, emotions are often fueled by novelty. Everything feels fresh and interesting. Conversations feel exciting because two people are discovering each other for the first time. There is curiosity, chemistry, and anticipation. But early excitement does not always guarantee long-term compatibility. As the initial rush begins to settle, a man may begin evaluating whether the connection is something deeper or simply a moment of attraction that feels strong because it is new. This stage of reflection is natural. Human emotions are complex, and most people do not want to make serious decisions about relationships without understanding their feelings clearly. When a man truly likes someone, he may actually become more careful about the direction of the relationship. The reason is simple. When someone matters, the stakes become higher. It is no longer just about enjoying the moment. It becomes about protecting both people from making decisions too quickly that could lead to disappointment later. During this time, his mind may begin asking questions that he did not consider before. Does he genuinely miss this person when they are not around? Does he think about them? When he is busy with other things, does he feel inspired by the connection, or does he feel uncertain about where it might lead? These are not questions he can answer instantly. They often require distance and quiet moments where he can observe his own emotions honestly. Sometimes people assume that when someone pulls away, it means they are trying to escape the relationship. But in many cases, the distance is not about escape at all. It is about observation. When a man creates space, he gives himself the opportunity to see how the connection feels without constant interaction influencing his emotions. If he finds himself still thinking about the person, still feeling drawn toward them, and still wanting to reconnect, then he is still interested in reconnecting. That realization often strengthens his feelings rather than weakening them. Absence has a unique way of revealing emotional truth. When someone is constantly present, it can be difficult to separate genuine attachment from simple routine. People sometimes confuse familiarity with real connection. But when space enters the situation, the heart begins to reveal what truly matters. If the connection is meaningful, the person remains in his thoughts even when they are not physically present. That realization often brings clarity about the depth of his feelings. Another reason a man may step back is because he wants to avoid making promises or commitments before he is certain about them. Many people have experienced relationships where someone rushed forward with excitement only to realize later that they were not truly ready. That kind of situation can cause pain for both people involved. A man who has learned from past experiences may want to ensure that if he moves forward emotionally, he does so with sincerity and intention. In this sense, caution can actually be a sign of respect for the connection. Instead of letting emotions run uncontrollably, he chooses to slow down and understand them properly. This may look like distance from the outside, but internally, it is often a process of emotional organization. He is trying to align his feelings with his actions so that the relationship develops in a healthy way, rather than in a rushed or unstable way. Past experiences also play a major role in how someone approaches new relationships. If a man has previously invested deeply in someone and later felt hurt or betrayed, he may naturally become more careful in future connections. This does not mean he is incapable of loving again. It simply means he wants to make sure that the next connection he invests in is genuine and compatible. The caution he shows is often a protective mechanism built from experience rather than a reflection of his current feelings. While he is processing these thoughts, he may also observe how the other person responds to space. Reactions during moments of distance can reveal important aspects of a person's character. If someone responds with understanding and emotional stability, it can strengthen his sense that the connection has potential. But if someone reacts with panic, pressure, or accusations, it can create doubt about whether the relationship would feel balanced in the long run. Emotional maturity often reveals itself during uncertain moments. When someone remains confident in their own life and does not depend entirely on constant reassurance, they are more likely to be resilient and adaptable. It creates an environment where the relationship feels safe rather than demanding. This kind of energy allows the connection to grow naturally because both people feel respected as individuals. It is important to understand that real relationships are not built only on attraction. They are built on compatibility, emotional safety, shared values, and mutual respect. Determining whether these elements exist takes time. A man who wants something meaningful may need to observe how the relationship develops over several experiences rather than making a quick decision based only on chemistry. During his period of reflection, he may think about how conversations with this person make him feel. Does he feel comfortable being himself? Does he feel understood and appreciated? Does spending time with this person bring peace and positivity into his life? These emotional signals help him determine whether the connection is something he wants to deepen. He may also consider practical aspects of life. Do their lifestyles align? Do their long-term goals seem compatible? Do they support each other's growth? These considerations become more important when someone is thinking about the possibility of a lasting relationship rather than a temporary experience. While all of this reflection is happening, it is easy for the other person to misinterpret the situation. Silence or distance can feel confusing, especially when the connection previously felt strong. But it is important to remember that clarity often comes from thoughtful pauses. When someone allows themselves time to understand their emotions fully, the decisions they make afterward tend to be more genuine and stable. If the connection truly matters to him, the time he spends reflecting will often lead him back with stronger certainty. Instead of moving forward because of excitement alone, he moves forward because he has recognized that the connection continues to hold value even after careful consideration. This kind of realization often leads to deeper commitment because it is based on understanding rather than impulse. Meaningful relationships are rarely built through constant intensity without pauses. They grow through cycles of closeness and reflection. Each phase allows the connection to develop layers of understanding. The excitement of attraction introduces two people, but reflection helps them decide whether they truly belong in each other's lives. When a man steps back to understand his feelings, it can actually be part of a healthy emotional process. It shows that he is not taking the connection lightly. Instead, he is making sure that if he continues investing his time, energy, and emotions, it will be with intention and honesty. In the end, love that grows through clarity tends to be stronger than love that grows only through impulse. When someone takes the time to confirm their feelings, they are showing that they care about the other person's feelings. The connection becomes something they choose deliberately rather than something they fall into accidentally. And when that choice is finally made, it often carries more meaning, because it is no longer just about attraction or excitement. It becomes about recognizing that the connection has passed through moments of doubt, reflection, and understanding and still remained important enough to pursue.